All right, welcome back to the deep dive. Um, Today we're tackling something
Yeah.
that I think we both had some pretty strong reactions to when we first looked at it.
Oh yeah, for sure. This one,
You guys sent us
yeah,
audio from Gary Brodsky, The Art of Dominating Women,
parts 1 and 2.
parts 1 and 2.
Yeah.
And I think we
Ben
both
Plum's the beginner.
kind of went, whoa, okay. Um,
Yes, this is definitely a deep dive.
so how do we even begin to approach this? I mean, obviously we're not here to endorse these views,
Right, right.
but there's something to be learned here, even if it's just how to spot these kinds of manipulative tactics in the
Absolutely.
wild,
Yeah, I think it's like learning the language of a con artist. You
right?
don't want to become one,
Right.
but it's helpful to understand how they work so you
Exactly.
can protect yourself.
Exactly. So Brodsky, he doesn't beat around the bush. He's very upfront about his goal, dominate women.
Yeah, his language is very explicit.
Very explicit. And he actually argues that total control is the only path to a man's happiness.
It's a very transactional view of
Like it's some
relationships.
kind of conquest, right?
Yeah, like it's a game to be
A
won.
game to be won, and the prize is
And the woman is the prize,
the woman is the prize. Yeah.
which is not a person, right?
Not a person exactly. Yeah.
It's very dehumanizing.
It's very dehumanizing. And he repeatedly diminishes women's ability to think, make decisions, have valid emotions.
It's almost like he's trying to erase female agency altogether.
Yeah, like women are incapable of being equal partners.
Right, and then he tries to justify all this with these twisted evolutionary arguments.
Oh, yeah.
Like men are biologically programmed to dominate,
Hardwired for it.
and women are hardwired to submit.
It's like he's stuck in the Stone Age or something.
Yeah, I was going to say, caveman logic. I mean, even if you go back to prehistoric times, I'm pretty sure relationships were a little more nuanced than that. Right, and there's a lot of evidence to suggest that early human societies were actually quite egalitarian
Exactly. It's like he's cherry picking these outdated ideas
to fit his narrative.
to fit his narrative, yeah. But the real danger here is that this kind of thinking can seep into real world relationships.
Absolutely.
Like if you start believing that your partner is incapable of making decisions or having valid emotions,
Mm-hmm.
that creates a very slippery slope.
Yeah, it sets the stage for manipulation and control to become normalized.
Exactly. Okay, so let's get into some of these specific tactics that Brodsky lays out. Some of these are so outlandish, they almost sound like they're from a bad movie.
Oh, no, right. Like a
Um,
caricature of a controlling boyfriend.
For example, he tells men to just start giving commands instead of asking, even for things a woman is already doing.
Yeah, it's about establishing a pattern of obedience.
Like sit down when she's already about to sit down.
Yeah, like you're training a dog.
It's so bizarre.
It's about eroding her sense of autonomy.
So she becomes more compliant. And then there's this thing he calls the cancellation trick,
Oh, yes.
which basically boils down to you make a date and then you cancel at the last minute. No explanation.
Just to keep her on her toes.
And he suggests showing up late on purpose, too,
Yeah, to demonstrate that your time is more valuable.
to demonstrate that your time is more valuable.
That's all about power and control.
It just seems so cruel and unnecessary.
It is. It's about playing mind games
Creating this sense of insecurity and anxiety.
and making her crave your attention.
But wouldn't that just backfire? I mean, wouldn't that just breed resentment and distrust?
In a healthy relationship,
In
yeah.
a healthy relationship, yes.
But that's not what he's aiming for.
That's not his goal at all, yeah.
He's looking for a very specific dynamic.
Which is all about control.
Control, yeah.
So how does this compliment game fit into all of this? I mean, compliments are supposed to be a good thing, right?
Well, in his view, compliments are a tool to be used strategically,
Strategically, yeah.
not something to be given freely,
So you dole them out like little rewards
like you're training a pet.
to reinforce good behavior.
Exactly.
It's so dehumanizing.
It is. It's like he's saying, don't be too nice or she'll get the upper hand.
It's like any act of kindness is a weakness in his mind.
Yeah, he's very suspicious of genuine emotion.
He also talks about how important it is to appear completely unfazed by a woman's actions.
Right. Always maintain an air of mystery and unattainability.
Keep her guessing, right?
Make her work for your affection.
It all just sounds so exhausting, to be honest.
This does, yeah.
Like, who has the energy to constantly be playing these games?
That's a good question. And it leads us to the question of why.
Why would anyone buy into this?
Why would anyone buy into this?
That's the appeal. What's the psychology behind it?
I think that's what we need to explore next.
Yeah, let's dig into that.
Because understanding the why is just as important as understanding the how,
Absolutely.
if we want to help people avoid falling into these traps.
Okay, so let's talk about that why. What are your thoughts?
Well, one possibility is that these teachings appeal to men who are struggling with their own insecurities.
So it's like a defense mechanism.
Yeah, maybe they feel powerless in other areas of their lives.
And so they try to overcompensate by controlling their partner.
It's a way of feeling more secure, even if it's an illusion of security.
It's sad, really.
It is. It's a very lonely way to live.
Brodsky also plays on the fear of vulnerability,
Oh,
telling men that being emotionally open is a weakness
a liability.
and that women will exploit that weakness.
He actually says if you want to give 70% of your paycheck to a woman, then you can trust her.
Like what?
It's like he's promoting paranoia and distrust as the foundation for a relationship.
Which is just setting people up for failure.
Yeah, it's a recipe for disaster.
Because genuine intimacy requires vulnerability.
Absolutely.
It requires trust.
And a willingness to let your guard down.
Exactly. But Brodsky seems to think that any kind of emotional expression is a sign of weakness.
Yeah. He wants men to be these stoic, impenetrable figures.
Like robots, almost.
Yeah, completely devoid of emotion.
Which, again, is just so unhealthy.
It is. It's like he's cutting men off from experiencing the full spectrum of human emotion.
And from forming genuine connections.
Right, because true connection requires vulnerability
It requires empathy.
and compassion.
But those are the very things that Brodsky is telling men to suppress,
Yeah, he's creating this emotional prison.
where men are trapped in their own fear and insecurity.
And that can't be good for anyone involved.
No, it's definitely not.
And we haven't even touched on the impact this has on women.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's pretty clear how harmful these ideas could be to women.
It's incredibly damaging.
I mean, reducing women to conquest.
Objects to be manipulated and controlled,
It's perpetuating this culture of objectification and control.
which undermines their autonomy
And their self-worth.
and their self-worth, exactly.
Like he's framing relationships as this zero-sum game.
Where one person has to dominate for the other to be happy.
But that's not how it works.
No, healthy relationships are about mutual respect.
About collaboration
Compromise.
and a willingness to be vulnerable with each other.
Exactly. And Brodsky's teachings completely ignore those essential elements.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground here.
Yeah.
We've talked about Brodsky's core message of male dominance,
Right.
his dismissal of female agency,
His twisted evolutionary arguments.
and some of his more outlandish tactics.
Like the cancellation trick and the compliment game.
We've also started to unpack the psychology behind all of this,
The insecurity.
the fear of vulnerability,
The desire for control.
and we've touched on the harmful impact these ideas can have on both men and women.
Leading to toxic and unbalanced relationships.
But there's still so much more to explore here.
Oh, yeah. We've only just scratched the surface.
So stay tuned as we continue our deep dive into Brodsky's playbook.
We'll be right back.
So we're back and still trying to wrap our heads around this whole Brodsky thing.
Yeah, it's a lot to unpack.
Before the break, we were talking about how some of these teachings might appeal to men who are grappling with their own insecurities.
Yeah, and I think it's important to remember that this isn't just about individual psychology. It also ties into broader cultural narratives about masculinity.
Right, like what it means to be a real man.
Exactly. Brodsky constantly references James Bond, the Sean Connery era,
Well, yeah, the epitome of
as the ideal.
the alpha male.
Yeah, that strong, silent type who always gets what he wants.
Ever shows weakness.
And that archetype can be very appealing, especially for men who feel like they lack those qualities.
It promises power, status, control.
Which can be very seductive, especially in a culture that often equates those things with masculinity.
But it's such a narrow and unrealistic view of what it means to be a man.
It is. It ignores the fact that real strength comes from being able to be vulnerable, to connect with others on an emotional level.
So you're saying that buying into this alpha male myth can actually be harmful?
Absolutely. It can trap men in a performance where they're constantly trying to live up to this impossible ideal
Which can lead to a lot of emotional burnout.
and prevent them from forming genuine connections.
Okay, so let's get back to some of Brodsky's specific tactics. He talks a lot about controlling the narrative in a relationship,
Yeah, it's all about being the puppet master,
always being one step ahead.
always in control.
And one of the things he says is that you should never let a woman know how much you like her.
Keep her guessing. Keep her on edge.
He even encourages lying and breaking promises just to maintain an air of mystery.
To keep her chasing after you.
So basically, honesty and transparency are bad things in his book.
Yeah, he sees emotional honesty as a liability.
It's mind-boggling, really.
He tells men to never apologize, never admit fault, always deflect blame.
It's like he's promoting this image of the infallible man
Who's never wrong.
who never has to take responsibility for his
It's
actions.
just not realistic.
Is also incredibly immature.
And it creates a dynamic where one person is constantly walking on eggshells, afraid to express their true feelings.
He also talks about this idea of standing your ground, which, on the surface sounds reasonable.
Right, like having boundaries.
But he takes it to this extreme.
He argues that men should never change their lifestyle or routines to accommodate a woman.
Even for small things.
Even for small things, he sees any concession as a sign of weakness.
So even if it's something as simple as like shifting your gym schedule to spend time with your partner.
Nope, not allowed.
That's crazy.
He believes that maintaining your existing routine, no matter what, is crucial to maintaining dominance.
It's so rigid and inflexible.
And it completely ignores the fact that relationships require compromise.
And flexibility.
He even goes so far as to say that a man should never tell a woman about his problems.
Because it makes him look weak.
Exactly. Bottling up your emotions like that is not healthy.
It's a recipe for disaster.
It can lead to resentment, anger, even physical health problems.
And it prevents you from getting the support you need.
From your partner.
From your friends, from your family.
It's like he's isolating men from their support systems.
Which just makes them more dependent on him and his teachings.
It's a very manipulative cycle.
Okay, so there's this other thing he talks about, using laughter as a way to control a woman's emotions.
Yeah, like if you can make her laugh, you somehow have power over her.
It's such a cynical view of humor.
He sees it as a weapon.
To disarm and manipulate.
To control the emotional tone of the interaction.
And to prevent her from expressing any negative feelings. So far, we've mostly been focusing on how Brodsky's teachings can impact men.
Right, but it's equally important to talk about the potential harm to women.
Absolutely. I mean, his teachings are deeply misogynistic.
And they perpetuate these harmful stereotypes about women.
He repeatedly refers to them in these demeaning and objectifying ways.
Reducing them to conquests, possessions.
He even uses this really disturbing analogy, comparing women to cats.
Saying they don't appreciate us.
Just dehumanizing.
And it reinforces his message that women are inherently ungrateful and unworthy.
He talks about women like they're these manipulative, scheming creatures
who are constantly trying to trap men.
It's like he's encouraging men to be suspicious and distrustful of women from the very beginning.
Which creates this toxic atmosphere of paranoia and suspicion.
That makes it impossible to build a healthy relationship.
Because you're starting from a place of distrust.
Instead of a place of mutual respect and understanding.
His advice about never taking no for an answer is particularly alarming.
Yeah, he actually says that when a woman says no, she's actually testing you.
And you should just keep pushing until she gives in.
That's incredibly dangerous.
It completely disregards the concept of consent.
And normalizes coercive behavior.
It's essential to understand that no always means no.
And any attempt to pressure or manipulate someone into changing their mind is unacceptable.
He also suggests making sexual comments early on, no matter how crude or inappropriate they may be.
Again, it's about asserting dominance and disregarding her boundaries.
He seems to think that women are just waiting for a man to come along and take control.
Which is just not reality.
It's a fantasy that he's selling.
And it's a dangerous one.
Because it can lead to real-world harm.
It's like he's completely missing the point of what a healthy, respectful relationship should look like.
Which is about mutual respect.
Open communication.
And a willingness to be vulnerable with each other.
It's not about control and manipulation. It's about partnership.
And equality.
We've covered a lot of ground in this episode.
We have. It's been heavy stuff.
But I think it's been important to do so because it's only by understanding these manipulative tactics that we can protect ourselves and others from them.
Exactly. Awareness is the first step towards creating healthier, more equitable relationships.
And that's what we'll continue to explore in the final part of our deep dive. Stay with us. Okay, welcome back to the deep dive. We've been spending some time with this Gary Brodsky material, and it's definitely been a lot to process.
Yeah, pretty intense stuff.
It really has. But I think it's so important to shine a light on these manipulative tactics, even if they make us uncomfortable.
Absolutely. I mean, Brodsky's teachings might seem extreme,
Right.
but a lot of the tactics he describes are actually quite common.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing.
Even if they're not always as blatant.
So how do we connect what we've learned from this, kind of out there material to the bigger picture?
Well, I think one of the most disturbing themes is his complete disregard for empathy and compassion.
Oh, yeah, that was really striking.
Like he's advocating for a world where everyone's just completely shut down emotionally.
Terrified of being hurt or manipulated,
And that leads to a lot of loneliness and isolation.
and it prevents people from forming genuine connections.
He seems to think that any kind of vulnerability is a weakness.
Right, and that the only way to win in a relationship is to be completely in control.
But that's not how healthy relationships work at all.
No, it's about being able to let your guard down, to trust your partner, to be there for each other.
To be able to give and receive support.
It's also about recognizing that everyone has needs and feelings.
And that those needs and feelings are valid.
But Brodsky seems to think that women's needs and feelings are just, I don't know, irrelevant.
Yeah, like they're not even worth considering.
It's like he's promoting this us versus them mentality.
Where men and women can never truly be partners.
Only adversaries.
Which is just so sad.
It is. It's limiting for everyone involved.
And it prevents men and women from experiencing the full potential of a loving and supportive relationship.
So after diving deep into this, sometimes disturbing material, what are some key takeaways for our listeners?
I think the most important thing is to recognize that manipulation can be very subtle.
It's not always about grand gestures or, obvious commands.
It can be disguised as charm, as concern, even as love.
So how do we spot it?
Pay attention to how someone makes you feel. Do you constantly feel anxious around them? Off balance, like you're walking on eggshells?
Those are all red flags.
They are. And it's not just about romantic relationships.
All right, this can happen in friendships, family dynamics, even professional settings.
Absolutely. Learning to recognize these patterns can empower you to protect yourself and to advocate for healthier relationships in all areas of your life.
And remember, you always have the right to say no,
Set boundaries.
to walk away from any situation that feels unsafe or disrespectful,
Your feelings and needs are valid.
and you deserve to be treated with respect.
Always.
So I guess the big question is, if manipulation is so prevalent, how do we challenge these harmful norms and promote healthier, more equitable relationships?
It's a big question, but I think it starts with awareness, education, open dialogue.
We need to have honest conversations about power, about consent, about respect,
We need to challenge the cultural narratives that glorify dominance and control.
and start celebrating vulnerability, empathy, genuine connection. Well, that about wraps up our deep dive into, a pretty wild corner of the internet.
Yeah, this one was definitely a journey.
It was, but I think it was an important one.
Absolutely. Knowledge is power, as they say.
And hopefully, this knowledge will help our listeners navigate the complexities of relationships with more awareness and more confidence.
And build stronger, healthier connections.
To all our listeners out there, thank you for joining us on this deep dive. Remember, you deserve to be in relationships that are built on trust, respect, and genuine connection. Until next time.